And hello, everybody. You're live Monday night with Sherry Shriner. What is today's date? It's December 3rd. If you have a question for the show, you can send it to SherryTalkRadio at yahoo.com. A couple questions I didn't get to last week. Might get to those this week. I tend to jump over those. And so if you had a question you sent in last week I didn't answer, you can resend it this week. I was looking at something earlier during the week. My usual amusement story is about Ted Turner. Probably a lot of you might have seen it online. I was talking about Ted Turner's amassing over 2 million acres of land in the United States. Ted Turner, and everybody knows him as being the head of CNN, CEO of CNN. And most of his acres, millions of acres, being in 9 states, with most of his holdings in New Mexico, Nebraska, Montana, and South Dakota. And years ago, when it was brought to everyone's attention about Ted Turner amassing all of this acreage, being one of the largest landholders in the country, I remember at the time when Clinton was in office, and Ted Turner was forced to give over $100 million to the IMF. And the IMF being abbreviated for the International Monetary Fund. And they're all working together. Ted Turner's along involved with the Illuminati. But what I found interesting is that his outright denial that he has anything to do with the rewilding of the West, and they call this a conspiracy theory, because we've been talking about for a long time about how their plans for their Global 21 agenda, the UN's Global 21 agenda, was, and I have these maps at thewatcherfiles.com, where they had plans to make certain areas for civilians only. They have like all these different color zones they have the country split up in, and they would have a lot of red zones where nobody was allowed to live, because they had plans to rewild America. The Illuminati wants to rewild America like it was back in the old days of the West. And make this kind of like their Garden of Eden spot in the world for hunting, and this is where coming through with killing 3/4 of the America's population so that they could turn all the land back into its original habitat type land. And he comes out and just denies that he's part of a conspiracy, which is really funny because he's obviously, first of all, acknowledging that there is one about him doing his part to rewild the West. So he outright denies it first. He acknowledges it. And the interesting thing about it is, his front men obviously saying he just wants to be a rancher. But one of the things he's doing is restoring buffalo, cutthroat trout, wolves, black-footed ferrets, and other flora and fauna that filled the plains before the West was won. And so obviously he has an agenda here to rewild America, which goes along with what everybody else has been claiming about him for years, that his part, the Illuminati, is helping to rewild America. And so here he is with over 2 million acres of land, and he's opening up restaurants all over the country. Says he has about 50 restaurants and where their specialty is serving buffalo meat. And I don't know if any of you have ever had buffalo meat, but it is rather very good. It's better than hamburger meat. I had some buffalo meat when I was in Arkansas a couple of years ago on one of our gifting trips, on one of our Oregon trips, and one of the first ones I ever went on. And I stayed in Arkansas, and there was a little restaurant there of buffalo meat, and it was so good. And you could go out the back of it, and they had buffalo tied up there. It's like, I hope I didn't just eat his mother, but definitely, I don't know how anybody could deny this stuff. They call us a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and then they just come out with all these stories to just prove everything we've ever said is true. But they try to whitewash it by calling everybody a bunch of conspiracy theorists. That way, for somehow labeling people conspiracy theorists is supposed to take away their credibility or something. But actually, what is a conspiracy? A conspiracy is an event, questions surrounding an event that are unanswered. That's what creates a conspiracy, because they're unanswered. And then they lie about everything. I mean, ask Ted Turner, why are you amassing land? Why are you up to 2 million acres? Why are you putting wolves and bison, buffalo back on it, and are you involved with the UN Global 21 plan? And he'll say no. So there you have it. There's a conspiracy because he's a liar. He's a liar. So anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, something I've always been interested in, and I know a lot of you are too, the second coming of Christ. I want to talk about that tonight. There was a question on my list during the week last week. It was talking about the 1,000-year millennial reign. And somebody was mentioning, oh, there's 2 books of life, and this is where all the evil people come from, blah, blah, blah. And you know what, you just throw your hands up in the air and walk away after you give a comment. People are ultimately going to believe what they want to believe. As long as they just keep the garbage off my list. But what I wanted to do is what I mentioned about that is that if you look at the millennial reign of Christ, the 1,000-year reign, and people say, well, where are all these wicked people coming from that somehow we end up with these wicked people because when Satan's unleashed for his third attempt against the Lord, he gathers an army to come up against the Most High. And this is the exact same war and army that I believe the church today has all confused with Israel. If you look at the churches today, they all talk about the Ezekiel 37 and 38. The Ezekiel war, when the North comes, the North goes to war against Israel, and Russia's going to come up against Israel, Gog and Magog, and that war fits perfectly with Satan's third attempt against the Lord, which is at the back of Revelation. I believe it's chapter 20. And so I think the church has always taken that out of alignment as far as prophetic events go, because I don't see that war in Ezekiel 37 and 38 happening until Satan's third attempt. And so, but if you look at Matthew chapter 25, and I mentioned this in regards to where these evil people come during the 1,000-year reign, the judgment of the nations, the sheep and goat judgment. Because you'll see here in verse 31, he says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when we saw thee and hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When did we see thee a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? When did we see you sick, or in prison, and come unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and he goes on, and they wouldn't help him. They never fed him, never visited him, never clothed him, never gave him drink. And so this is the judgment of the nations, the sheep and goat judgment. And where this comes from is it's the end of the tribulation period. And this is not an individual personal judgment. This is going by the nations. It's a nation judgment. If you look at America, and we're going to be thrown into a police state, we're going to be in martial law, Americans are going to be fleeing all over the world. There will be Europeans fleeing.